All right, more about the sandblasting here. So I went and I bought some play sand at Home Depot, $4.37 for 50 pounds. And that was like 5 days ago. Now, I just tried the sandblast this morning with very poor success because it wasn't dry. If you look here where it's clumpy, it's still moist. When I put it in the sandblaster, it started clumping up and it wouldn't feed. So I sat here, I've been stirring it because I'm really impatient, which is bad. This is a lot better. So now I have my sift right here, and if you take dry sand, it'll pour almost right through your sift. These are the particles that make your life miserable when you're doing this. You know, you have to bleed the air down and clean your nozzle because of those particles. This sand looks really fine, and it pretty much is, except it has a certain percentage of that which will kill you when you're sandblasting. So this one, I believe, is pretty dry. See, it's rubbing right through it. Just a little bit of shaking right through. Before, when I was doing it, it was clumping up and it would sit on top of the screen. So get it through, sift it. Now look, this isn't a lot that I've done here, and I'll show you the amount of stuff that would ruin your day. Forget the leaf, but look at that. Every one of those would ruin your day. So just to go back over the obvious, make sure your sand is dry. It's dry. It's got to be dry. A little bit damp isn't going to work. It won't flow. It won't feed down. So sift your media. And see here, this isn't even quite dry because it's still trying to clump up a little bit. If it's clumping, that means it's not dry. Now, I thought about using heat lamps. Go get it, lay it in the tray, put it under a heat lamp. Yeah, that's a lot of work. But you know what else is a lot of work? Trying to sandblast something that should take you a half hour and spending 3 hours trying to get your machine to work. That's kind of how my morning went. And I know better. I thought because my nozzle, because of the successful blasting last week, was a little bigger, I thought it would feed, and it didn't. So once again, those are the things that kill you. And that's in sand that you would think is just as fine as flour, but it's not. So we'll come back with more in a little bit when we try to run this through the machine. Just to give you a little idea, I've just put my media in. Now earlier I tried to blast and it was kind of a disaster because my media was not dry. This is the media I was using, and as you can see, it wasn't quite dry. If I get down, still bringing up some clumpy stuff that's still damp. So absolutely has to be dry, dry, dry. When you put dry media in here, you put the funnel, when you pour it in, it shouldn't coagulate at all. It should go right down the funnel, maybe shake a little bit, go right down. But here's why it's so important. Okay, so you put your air to it. Well, first, put your media in. Let's say we've got this much media. Now you have sand packing up halfway, and at the bottom, you have a valve. So the media needs to be dry enough so that it freely comes down this pipe. Here is where your air is introduced. So basically, when you have the air hooked up and you pull the trigger, you have 100 psi air coming here and right past this. That creates a low pressure here, and this either siphon feeds down into the airstream. So at first, when everything's set up good, it's gonna be a lot of media because it has to clear the hose. but after about 2 seconds, it'll clear out and then you'll have a good mix. If you have too much media, you take this valve and you shut it a little bit. Now, depending on the type of this valve, it can really be a pain in the ass. I usually leave it open because it's a pretty good mix the way it is. So it comes down, falls in, the air hits it, shoots it across, and it comes out the nozzle. The nozzle upgrade that I did from the one that was with it when I got it is this. Has a different type of nozzle. This nozzle's used a little bit from last week, so it's probably about 3/16 right now. Works really good, and it's an instant on, instant off. It'll sit there like a dead man. That'll sit there fine, just like it is. These units are very cheaply made, but that doesn't mean they can't work really well. So remember the principles. Must have air with no moisture in it or minimal moisture. You must have dry sand. I recommend this. It's like a $30 upgrade, and you just hit it and it comes out. I'm going to try to show you on this piece here, once my compressor builds up enough pressure, I'm going to try to show you how these things work when they work. It's really something. You can take a $100 Chinese piece of shit, you know, Harbor Freight sandblaster, and really do some nice work with it. Does take a lot of preparation, but it's still cheaper than loading up all these parts, driving them 45 minutes, and paying somebody else $100 to do it, because I actually like doing things by myself. Anyhow, back in a minute for the test run. Just a little snippet. If you can make that in the sand, it's still damp. This seems dry, but it's not. If you can do that, it's still damp, just like the beach. When you move it around, you see where it's clumping? That means it's moist. Put that in your sandblaster, it will not function. Just letting you know. All right, get yourself a good face shield too, it really helps. So I'm gonna try doing this without ruining my camera. So I have good media in it. That was the overpressure valve, that's all that was. And I'm gonna do a test so you can see the media is coming right out. So now at first, you're gonna see a lot of media at low pressure, and then it'll thin out and start to work. So go ahead and watch. So look at that. That's pretty rich, so I can actually thin that out a little bit down here with the valve. Just going to turn it about 30% closed to give me more air, less media. Look at that, quick. Hey, now here. Turn it back up since it's clear. Had to give it a shake. Okay, when it gets like that, to where it's blowing, but you don't have a tremendous amount of media coming out, and it's not getting a lot of material off, that usually means that your air pressure's down. So we're going to try it here again and make sure that's the problem. I just turned the media down a little more. Now a lot of that is rust, a lot harder to get off than paint. Hope I'm not ruining my camera here. Let's see how, now remember our pressure is down because it's been running a minute. See, now I gotta turn around and wiggle the machine, even though it's dry media, you still have to move the machine to get the funnel effect going again. And now I gotta turn around, I gotta shake it, and that makes it filter down so that you can spray. That doesn't always happen, but it's happening now because there's probably still a teeny bit of the damp stuff in there holding us up. So once again, and then here, but the air pressure is very low because it doesn't take a lot to exhaust your compressor. That's way low. So it's really good if you put the work in, and this has really been impressive how well this is cut. So I'm probably almost out of media, but I need to finish this bracket really bad. That's why I've been pushing it.